It's Paul's Picks. I'm David Schellenberg. Hello, Paul Carriere.
Hello, David Schellenberg.
Different spot for us today. I don't know exactly where we are.
Well, Mom always said I had a face for radio, so I don't know how this is going to turn out. But anyway.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. So we've got 3 wines today. I mean, this looks like a great Friday night.
Yeah, at the start of a great Friday night.
Start of a great Friday night.
Yeah, so we're going to do sort of like an appetizer style wine.
Yep.
So it'll be a white wine from Chile, a Sauvignon Blanc.
Right.
Then we're going to move into the entree wine.
Okay.
Okay, so that's going to be a Shiraz from Australia.
Beautiful.
Still super, super popular. And then we're going to have a sweet wine from Ontario for dessert.
Well, Ontario does sweet wines. We know this better than anybody else in the world, really. Yeah. So sounds really good. Okay, so let's start with wine number 1.
So wine number 1 is the Miguel Torres Ándica Reserva Sauvignon Blanc.
Oh, well, cheers, by the way, to wherever we are.
That's very nice.
Well, Costco's finest.
So here, on the nose, when we're smelling it, I get a whole lot of grapefruit and lime.
Now, that's what I would expect in a Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, Sauvignon Blancs are for people that are not fans of oaky style wines. So, you know, the sort of Chardonnays that are that big buttery vanilla thing going on.
Yeah.
Sauvignon Blanc is a great style of wine that you should look at trying because they have a tendency to sort of be light to medium bodied in weight. And they're really well known for their acidity. So why don't we give it a try?
Right.
And see if I'm lying. Because I could be.
You could very well be, yeah. I mean, it is, from start to finish, this feels, because we've had Sauvignon Blancs before, feels like a Sauvignon Blanc that we've had before.
It's very well balanced on the palate. If you don't get that sort of saliva thing
you're right, yes. I was just wondering if that was me. My mouth is literally salivating.
I like to call this the mouth car wash.
Okay.
So if you're doing appetizers that are garlicky, so a lot of people like to start with like Caesar salad as an example.
Yeah.
Well, try Sauvignon Blanc with it for the simple reason that it's a palate cleansing wine.
Right.
So a lot of times, and a lot of Caesars are really, really garlicky, and they got the Parmesan in it. And if you don't have something to cleanse your palate, when you're going into your entree, you're bringing the first course with it.
Right.
So this is cleansing your palate. Also, because it's much higher in acidity than a lot of other white wines, it actually increases a bit of hunger.
Sure.
It promotes hunger.
Yeah.
So, overall, for this one is what, $16.95 for the bottle. Great value. It's a vintage wine, which means that for the LCBO, it's sort of that's their specialty program. So it's not always available, but when it is available, this is definitely something to pick up.
Now, what part of the world is this one from?
From Chile.
Okay.
Now, Chile is probably it's more and more known for high quality wines at really good quality prices.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're looking to keep your wine budget under $20, but you're still looking for that really nice quality in a red and a white wine, you should be looking at Chile for your purchases.
For Chile, for sure. Now, we've got a couple of little snacks on the table here, which is what we like to do. And I have to admit, I was pre-snacking and drinking.
No.
Yeah, well, when there's wine and crackers, like, what are you supposed to do?
How can you not, right?
These particular salty crackers destroyed this Sauvignon Blanc. Now, how did that happen? Because I had a bite of the cracker, then went back to this wine, and literally this tasted not even like water. Water has more taste than what this had.
So saltiness can be a killer for wine, for red and white wine. For white wines, it'll take away the fruit component if it's too salty.
Yeah.
For red wines, it'll actually make the wine taste metallic. You know, so unless you're into chewing on barbed wire, probably not a good idea to go with anything too salty. Sauvignon Blanc, like I said, it's great for a variety of different salads. Creamy soups is good. Also, creamy style cheeses works very, very well.
Now, that would explain why. So this is some super old cheddar that also brought. And you're right. When I went with the cheddar in the back to the wine, there was more. Does it make sense to say there was more wine taste?
Yeah, they balanced each other out. And anytime you're doing wine and food pairings, you don't want the wine to dominate too much,
Yeah.
and you don't want the food to dominate too much. You kind of want that sort of happy where they're melding and they're playing off each other. Kind of think of it like a tennis match.
Sure.
So it's going back and forth and back and forth. So yeah, that cheese has just enough saltiness and just enough tang to balance it with the acidity that's in the wine.
Because I was wondering about that. It's a salty cheese. So when
yeah.
you say salt doesn't work, get salt in creamy salt?
Overly amounts of salt is not good. So again, once you find that balance, and with creamy soups, the reason it's paired with that type of thing is because of the acidity, the wine is cutting right through the soup. Okay, so again, you're going to get you'll get the wine cutting right through,
right,
and then all of a sudden the soup on the finishes off on your palate.
Now, is that just a Sauvignon Blanc thing?
Well, no, there are quite a few other wines you can use, but Sauvignon Blanc would be probably the most sought after, the most popular for that style, the biggest recommended for that style. Yeah.
If you're going to have a creamy soup, have a Sauvignon Blanc. Now we've got an experiment that Camera 3 has got a glass of this. Camera 3. So it's time to talk to Camera 3. And Camera 3, as you try your Sauvignon Blanc, so what kind of taste do you find you get on it?
You don't have to get bogged down on terminology.
No.
Because that's the one thing when you're doing wine tastings where people are trying too hard to figure out what they're tasting and what they're smelling. And, they read the back of the bottle and it's like, you're reading Sauvignon Blanc as an example. And this is supposed to taste like cat's pee on a gooseberry bush.
Yes, I've seen that one. It's always pretty funny when you see that.
Who does that? Like,
right.
It's just like anything else. Like, think of like wine tasting is kind of like, it's like going to a gym for the first time. Your muscles are all there, so your senses are all there.
Right.
Right? It's with time and with practice, you just develop them. So usually the best thing to do when you're trying the wine, just whatever comes to you instantaneously.
So what do you taste on it?
I think pear.
Pear?
Yeah, good. Yeah, absolutely.
Pear. Now wait, Camera 3, because we got you wine, but we didn't get you cheese because we weren't that organized. So try a bit of the cheddar. No, don't do that. Try a bit of the cheddar first, and then go and try the Sauvignon Blanc, and tell us if it changed that taste at all, or if it tasted exactly the same.
Sort of kicking around. Again, you kind of want a little medley of the two.
Yeah.
And remember too, now everybody's palate's different. That's another thing. And the rule of thumb for this show is always drink what you like. Do not conform to the rules of wine tasting.
Proving the rule. Did it make it better or worse?
I can't really notice much of a difference.
Okay, thank you. So you backed me up on that. It made it taste more like wine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
No, wait, Camera 3, where's Camera 3? Oh, Camera 3 is busy. So now try it with the crackers, and have like a big mouthful, like a big and then try the wine, and see if that made a difference or not.
Literally on the spot.
Yeah, drama.
Yeah, it kind of mutes the taste of the wine.
Neutralize it.
Tastes like water. Yeah. Okay, thank you. I just want to prove myself correct. That's all that was about. Okay, so that's our appetizer course. We'll move on to our mains. We got a big red for this one.
Yes. Okay, so Derenberg, first of all, let's talk a little bit about that house, because Australia, obviously, for all intents and purposes, put Shiraz back on the map. Shiraz has been around for a long time.
Right.
Long time. But its claim to fame was when in early 2000, even mid-90s, they started planting Shiraz, not started planting, but started to really export Shiraz from Australia.
Right.
And it just caused a massive wine boom. In the year 2000, it was estimated that almost every 24 to 48 hours, there was a winery opening somewhere in Australia.
That was popular of a thing, yeah.
That popular of a thing. Derenberg, which is owned by the Osborne family, not Aussie,
More the Sharon side?
Yeah, she's more the business one.
Okay.
They've been around and doing this since about the early 1900s.
Yeah.
Okay. The Footbolt, it was actually done in 1912, where Mr. Osborne, the original, that was his prize racing horse. And he sold that horse so he could buy land to plant a vineyard, hence the Footbolt Shiraz.
Okay, because I've been wondering about the name of this wine ever since you said we were gonna be tasting it. Footbolt Shiraz.
They have wicked
So
names.
Footbolt has nothing to do with football.
Or the taste of feet.
Or I wasn't even thinking about the taste of feet. But it's about a horse.
Yeah.
Footbolt. Okay,
Yeah,
that's a good name.
Footbolt.
That's a pretty clever name for a horse.
So it was his prize horse.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to sell it, but he wanted to make wine, and the only way he could gather enough money back then was to sell this horse. So he did, and dedicated the first vintage to Footbolt. And it's been a staple of the Derenberg portfolio ever since.
Excellent. Okay, so can we drink it now?
Dave doesn't like waiting
I know,
to drink.
like these long explanations of can we get around to drinking this wine sooner or later?
I got to get you that 4-hour wine tasting.
No, I will refuse to go to it. There's just certain things I don't want to do.
All right, so if we smell it,
yeah.
Wow, like total for me, wow. It's cherry chocolate, it's raspberries, strawberries, a bit of earthiness there.
A little bit. It's not a pungent one.
Nope.
I know what you're saying, but I've really got to shove my nose in deep to get it.
Well, now this is a wine, keep in mind, it's ready to go now. It's been decanted about half an hour to an hour, roughly. I'd recommend if you're going to have the Footbolt, decant it minimum an hour.
Really?
Before starting to serve, because this wine's got you can drink it now, but you can store this up to about 8 years.
Okay.
Okay. So that's just telling you that it's still developing.
Yeah.
So it's good to aerate this wine before you have it, because you're right. You got to kind of dig deep to find the stuff in there. But blueberries are in there. I got a bit of black licorice, some leather.
Yeah.
On the palate, okay, this is the part I like.
Well, now on the palate, because I pre-drank while you're giving your long explanation, the
education, David.
Yes, fine. It tastes completely different than it smells.
The taste is a little bit more tart.
Yes.
A little bit more bitter.
Yep.
A little bit more sour cherry. The reasoning for that is, again, because it's very young.
Right.
And also, like most reds that come out of Australia, higher levels of alcohol because of very hot climate. So when this is finally released and bottled, it's at about a 14.5% alcohol.
This is 14.5?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. So welcome to Australia.
Well, if it's quiet at the supper table before you start drinking, a couple of glasses of this, and chairs will be flying anytime soon. So
chairs.
The tannin makes it tight a little bit. Okay, so.
But the alcohol opens it up.
It does open it up. So you lose a little bit of flavor component. This is when you're going to have to pair this with the proper food. Okay. So I'm looking, when I try something like this, the first thing that it screams for me, is a good cut of steak. Okay. So I'm looking at something even like a beef tenderloin with a port sauce reduction would be fantastic with this. Now, what's going to happen there, making sure that the meat is more on the rare side, medium rare side, is that the meat will actually soften the wine and actually help bring out more flavor components. Okay. So you don't have so much of that bitter astringency that you have when you're drinking it on its own.
Yeah, I'm not getting a lot on this, and I agree with a salty sort of thing, but a salty sort of beef would dramatically change this.
Also, the cheese, the cheddar that you brought.
Oh, it's way over there.
With the cheddar, that should also help soften this wine. So older cheddars, Reggiano Parmigiano is something that would be good. Gran Padano is another great cheese with that. Any old style cheddar works phenomenally well. It'll just help soften, mellow the wine. and make it a little bit more palatable.
Okay, now questions.
Yeah.
So back to the beginning, when you said decant, is that one of those screwy weirdo things that everybody collects and then sits
Never
there and collects
uses?
dust? Yeah, mainly because you can't figure out how to wash the damn thing. Like it's some super weird size, and you don't want to put it in the dishwasher because it's too fragile.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about by decanting?
So most wines, first of all, most red wines, even the lighter styles, I recommend you decant.
Okay.
Okay, so you should pretty much be decanting everything. The younger and heavier the wine is, the longer you're going to want to decant it. So when you go to the liquor store, like this bottle here, they usually have a little write-up or something.
Yep.
And if it says it's you can cellar this wine anywhere from 3 to 8 more years, guaranteed that's going to be at least an hour of decanting, probably more.
Right.
Now, I've had some wines, and this is true, I've had some wines that were very, very young Bordeaux's, as an example, very expensive wines. And I've decanted them. We've done experiments where we've decanted them for 12 hours. And every hour on the hour, we'd go and write a different tasting note.
Oh, you go taste it every hour?
Every hour. And I'm telling you, no word of a lie, there's a dramatic difference from hour to hour to hour to hour to hour.
So that's because you're just getting drunker?
Well, there's that. Yeah, that's a little part of it.
Okay,
but,
fair.
Yeah. By the end, it's just a scribble.
Is that what it is?
What the hell did I write there?
Well, I was thinking 12 hours. That's pretty ambitious. But is also decanting just like opening it up and just letting it sit?
Some people do that as well. I mean, if it's in the bottle, you're not going to get a lot of air contact, so it's not going to do a whole lot, but it's not going to hurt either. Another misconception people have, serving temperature of red. Your red wine should go in the fridge about an hour or two before you serve it.
Right.
Okay? So you're supposed to be serving your red at cellar temperature, which is roughly,
whatever that means.
Well, that's where the cellar, they'll keep them about 13 to 16-ish degrees.
Right.
So your red wine should be about that temperature too when you're serving it.
Not cold, but not room temperature.
Yeah, but not room temperature. That's a big misconception people have, and a lot of mistakes a lot of times that restaurants make. Now, they might not have the capacity to be able to store all their bottles in a refrigerated unit, but if you can, that's ideal.
Now, and you also talked about this is when you could store, you could cellar and have in a couple of years. And we have seen this with some people where maybe you go to the liquor store and you buy 3 of these, and it's an anniversary thing, it's a birthday thing, it's a Christmas thing, or whatever it is. But it's almost like you lined them all up and I can't wait till 2027 when we'll have this bottle of wine.
Yeah.
And it's a little goofy, but it's also really kind of fun.
It is fun. Let me give people a hint out there, because I've seen it. I worked many years in vintages, selling wines, and a lot of times, and it's a great idea. For example, my friend's getting married this weekend, or we're having our first child.
Right. Yes, all that stuff.
And I want something that says, what year are we? 2022.
Right.
I want something for 2022. Keep in mind, the wineries aren't releasing those wines for another 3 to 5 years.
Right.
Okay. So you get that thing, but you're not going to get it on the day of the birth or the day of the wedding. It'll be something that maybe 3 or 4 years down the road you can go get a bottle, and then they can cellar it and store it and stuff like that. And also keep in mind, the majority of wines that are produced overall, only about 5%, 7% go past 10 years. Okay.
I would be surprised if it's that long.
Yeah.
We just want to drink our wines. It's only the super rich people, which is none of us, that have the ability to store these things.
I have, and I'm not kidding, I've got some customers, and it becomes an obsession with some people, I guess, like collecting cars or whatever. If you've got the money, sure, why not? That have cellars they'll never drink. If they drank 4 bottles a day, they could never get through that cellar.
Can you give us their address?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, most wines are consumed young.
Yes.
Okay. But getting back to the birthday thing, yeah, it's available, but you're not going to get the year just at that time. Like I'm just doing something for a friend of mine. She just got married this weekend.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is I'm getting her a bottle that she can drink, her and her husband can drink right now.
Yeah.
One that they can drink in about 5 years, and then a port, because ports can keep forever, right?
Sure.
So, and a port that they can drink in 10 years. So there's options out there. Just ask your wine person.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll find something for you.
It is getting smoother, I have to admit, as it sort of sits there, maybe because I'm slowly drinking it, but it does legitimately seem to be getting smoother as it sits in the glass.
Keep in mind too, is wines that, like, especially the reds, when you keep them in your cellar for a long time, okay, the older they get, this is a natural product,
right?
Okay, the tannins and the nutrients will polymerize. In other words, they start partying together and they hook up, right? And they'll fall to the bottom of the bottle. Did you like that?
Yeah, they party.
And they'll fall to the bottom of the bottle.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't freak out.
Okay.
In 7 or 8 years, when you open up your bottle and you start pouring it out, and once you get towards the end of the bottle, there's going to be sediment in there.
The dreaded sediment.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Okay.
There's nothing. It's not going to hurt you. It's not appealing to have floating in your glass.
No.
But there's nothing wrong with that. I've had people bring back. I remember one time, this person brought back. It was a 1990 Chateau Latour, which at that time was probably, I don't know. He would have probably paid about $500 or $600 for the bottle. Kept it in the storage for about 15 years.
Right.
Didn't know that much about wine. Had a lot of money.
Yeah.
But didn't know much about wine and wasn't properly coached on it. Anyway, he comes back and he brings back the bottle. So we, the consultants and I, we look at each other and we tried to gently explain to him, well, no, you should expect that because no, he was adamant. He wanted his money. No problem.
15 years later, he brought back a bottle.
No problem. We'll refund. No problem at all.
I hope you guys
Guess
drank.
what we did with that?
Yeah.
Best afternoon at work ever. And no food, just straight up the wine. It was great.
And that was just because there was sediment in the bottle?
Just because there was sediment in the bottle. So what we did was, it's not the fanciest trick in the world, but we just we went upstairs to the staff kitchen.
Yeah.
And we took a coffee filter. Poked little holes in it, filtered it slowly, got all the tannin off it, put the wine into a decanter, and sipped on it for the whole day. Great day at work that day.
All right, it's time for camera 3, and here we go with camera 3 again, and now it's time to try the red wine. So let's see what you get when you smell it, and because now it's been sitting in this glass for a while, now we also got to figure out if it's opened up or not. So when you, camera 3 went right to the drinking.
Attaboy.
Camera 3's got more important things to do than sniff wine, apparently. But does it smell different than it tastes?
It doesn't smell too strong.
Right.
But it's quite flavorful.
Yeah. What do you get when you taste it? Now that's an honest answer right there. I agree. That is an entirely.
No, that's okay because you know what? I taught for many years. I taught the sommelier program at Algonquin College, and I used to love teaching. I taught all the levels, but I loved teaching the how to taste because that's exactly the response, especially the first couple of days, because people overthink, or it's just like when you drink a can of Coke or something, or your favorite beer. You're really not analyzing it. You're drinking it. What does it taste like? Well, it tastes like Coca-Cola. It tastes like Budweiser. I don't know It doesn't taste like a floral meadow on this left side of the Gatineau Hill up in the middle of the springtime. And that's okay. But that's what I was saying about, your palate and everything, your senses being like muscles. The more that you focus and try, the more you start to pick up those little flavors and tastes. People say to me, well, what should I do? What's the best exercise that I could do for my palate? Start smelling things in your fridge. It's as easy as that. It's as easy as that. Bite an apple. Well, there's an apple. An apple can be almost, you could find an apple taste in almost every style of white wine that's available.
Sure.
Pear, we mentioned pear.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Same
Asparagus.
thing.
Anyway, I could go on and on, but
asparagus. I don't want asparagus in my wine, though.
No.
Of all the tastes that I would want, of literally the list of things you could put in things that I want in my wine, I would not say asparagus is one of them.
Wait till we get further into this stuff. You'll be tasting things that you won't even believe.
Okay, so we're working our way through our meal. We've had our mains.
Yes.
It's time for dessert. And what's our dessert wine here?
So our dessert wine's right here from Niagara-on-the-Lake here in Ontario.
Geez.
Beautiful area. Been there tons of times. Went to Pillitteri many times. These guys are awesome. They're great. They've been around for a long time. They're doing a lot of late harvest and ice wines. Aside from doing whites and reds and sparkling, they really do dessert wines well. So a late harvest Vidal, basically what it is there's certain times where grapes get picked, okay?
Right.
Now, with the Vidal grape, it's kind of like Riesling. It's sort of a knockoff of the Riesling grape. So basically what's happening here is once...
Hold on, I have another sip while you're talking.
Sip of that?
Well, you're talking a lot.
I'll
I just need to sip while you're talking. Hey, keep going.
Okay. I'll teach you. It's good, eh?
That's really good.
Basically, the Vidal the grape is left on the vine way past after everything else has been cultivated.
Okay.
So the Pinot Noir is in, the Cab's in, the Chard's in, everything's in there fermenting in the winery. These grapes are left out there hanging.
Okay, so Vidal is a grape.
It's a grape.
Just like a Chardonnay is a grape and a Cabernet Sauvignon is a grape, Vidal is a grape. Okay.
So the sugar levels go way up, acidity starts to drop, so it becomes, they call it a vin de liqueur. In other words, a sweet wine, almost syrupy a little bit. And
I don't think anybody in Niagara knows any French, but sure.
There's a couple. So once they do the fermentation, which takes a lot longer than normal, because they have to use special yeast strains in order to produce this wine, you get wines that are extremely intense. So when I'm smelling something like this, I've got creme brulee, I've got mango, all kinds of tropical fruit.
Yeah.
Honey, big time. Honey,
okay, yeah. Honey was
honey.
Aggressive honey. When I first stuck my nose in this glass and took a bit of a whiff, it was honey that I got. But a sweet honey, like not like the sort of honey that I would expect, but kind of if I was to go and lick a bumblebee, that is what I expect this would be.
Never seen that one on the back of the wine bottle descriptor. That's a new one. Patent that.
Patent that.
Patent
All right,
that.
let me write that
right
down.
there. This is a phenomenal wine on its own for dessert.
Yeah.
There's always kind of a debate there in the wine world. Should the dessert, should the wine just be the dessert? Or should there be a dessert with the dessert wine?
I didn't know that debate.
That can get tricky because the dessert wine should be sweeter than the dessert that you're serving. So there again, you're walking a fine line because if you get something that's way too sweet, that's going to turn that into not what it is right now.
Not what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, now on the nose, very much honey.
Yep.
When I actually take a sip of it, it got a little more minty. Maybe that's the word. I don't know.
Eucalyptus, maybe?
The honey is gone from the taste, from the way it is on the nose, and it's replaced by something, eucalyptus, maybe that's the word.
And I found on the palate, the acidity did come in at the end.
Yeah.
But definitely not on the original taste of it. This wine I would recommend if you're gonna do it with a dessert. Believe it or not, I've had this with lemon meringue pie, and it worked really, really well.
Okay.
Really.
Let me write that down.
Yeah, lemon meringue.
How do you spell meringue?
With an M.
Pie. Okay.
It was really, really good. I also really recommend this too with cheeses, with the blue cheeses.
Right.
So salty blue cheese works well. Works very, very well with
And how much for a bottle of this?
Now, you don't see this often, and this is a limited series, but this is only $15.
Okay. Yeah, because ice wine, which and to not joking around. Ontario does ice wine really better than anybody in the world. The taste of ice wine is a unique taste, and it's a special taste, and I love it, and I'm used to spending $40 for that. Yeah,
and that's the base price, because they can go all the way up to paying between $70 and $100 for really top quality ice wine. That is not unheard of. In fact, there's a company in Ontario, it's called Royal de Maria, and at one point they made an offering of their ice wine, and it was a small release, and one bottle was kept for Queen Elizabeth, and the bottles were selling for retail, if I remember correctly, it was about $2,000 or $3,000 a bottle. Jeez. For 300 mil, like for this size. Yeah. But this isn't, the word ice wine is not used on the descriptor of this because this is not. This is a late harvest.
Okay.
The ice wines stay on the vine much longer.
Right.
They can only call it ice wine after the first freeze.
Right.
And the temperatures have to be at a certain degree for harvesting for them to do it, and everything has to be done by hand. I did a harvest of that one time. Wow, it's a lot of work.
It's cold.
It's really cold.
Okay, so this is not an ice wine.
No,
but it certainly, it's not as strong as an ice wine would be, but for $15, like this is a real find.
This is, I mean, even the late harvest wines are usually more in the $20 to $30 range.
Yeah.
So at 15, and you only serve. That's another thing. For dessert, it's only about 2 ounces. So a bottle like this, if you're 8 people, that's more than enough.
Oh, really?
More than enough.
Oh, because I was thinking how nice that would be for the hockey game. Like, I could sit at home and open that and just sit and watch TV for 3 hours. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because it drinks like a cognac. And ironically enough, one of the grapes that is used, because this is a hybrid grape that they use, is Ugni Blanc. And Ugni Blanc is one of the grapes that they used to make cognac and brandy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because at that price for $15, that's a really delicious wine.
Well worth kicking around the cellars. Christmas is coming up. Have a couple of bottles of that to pop out at some point.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Paul Carriere, thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
This has been Paul's Picks.